So, what's the world that you see where every brand will be run on AI agents and not with human teams?
A brand can be done by a GPU,
Okay.
maybe even better than it can be done by an agency.
I want to know, how would your chief of staff sell this pen?
A pen for you, a shoe for me, a chair for someone else. But these products need great images to make great stories.
You laid out so easily is that everybody can be a seller. So, what are you selling?
In business school, you say, are the dogs eating the dog food? These glasses that you see are completely made by a small
The moment a product idea exists, what exactly happens after that?
A studio can now be put into your phone and in your pocket. An AI photographer is not a replacement for a real life photographer. An AI photographer amplifies.
What should an AI startup really look for in the talent that they want on board?
The concentration of AI talent to research-centric roles has become so incredibly crazy. People are being traded, poached, sniped, and crossovered.
So, Sai, your last company, Scapic, which was into AR, VR, was sold to Flipkart. What lessons did you learn from that particular experience?
The top 3 learnings we had from that were the way this country purchases. The second is,
Tell us a little more about brands who are already engaging with ShopOS at the moment. Hi, I'm Swati Madgaonkar, founder and principal consultant at Kintelect Partners. We are a firm specializing in curating AI talent across the globe. And in our quest to identify what works and what does not work for an AI company, I'm going to be having conversations with some front runners in the AI race. My first guest on this series is Sai Krishna, who is the co-founder of ShopOS and also ex-Scapic, which was acquired by Flipkart. He's an amazing AI innovator and entrepreneur. And if you are anywhere close to knowing what's happening in the AI world, you have to follow him on Instagram. That is 5AI Tech, which is Sai Tech on Instagram. So Sai is currently leading AI agents for e-commerce and building AI glasses for the rest of us. Sai is also a Stanford GSB alumnus and a recipient of the Indian National Startup Award. Thank you so much, Sai, for being here. And this would be the perfect start to the series where we are looking at AI pioneers in India.
thanks for having me.
So, Sai, if the marginal cost of launching a brand itself goes to zero, what happens to commerce? You're building ShopOS around this exact idea, right? So, what's the world that you see where every brand will be run on AI agents and not with human teams?
Let's sort of recap how we got to the podcast studio today, right? You woke up and you got yourself ready, you made your way through Bangalore and its traffic and popped here. You were probably bombarded by 20 to 50 brands through this
Absolutely.
process.
Absolutely.
From the toothpaste to the taxi hailing app to the podcast center that we're at. What does a brand even mean? Right? It stands for something that is of recall, selling you a product, offering some value in your life,
Right.
and you're willing to pay for that value. A good brand does this really well. A very good brand probably does this on a daily basis in your life. So, brands have sort of figured a lot of what makes our brains work, right? Scarcity, FOMO, aspiration. These are all psychological and emotional things that brands have cracked. Like Mad Men was built around this.
Yeah.
And the one thing that AI cracks just as well are the same emotions. So, if an AI agent can understand what the psychology of building a brand can be, an AI image generator can potentially make the images for that brand, a video tool can make the videos. What does a brand then mean? Is it more human to have AI brand it out for us? Or is it less human? These are blurry lines. But blurry lines in technology are exciting times. That's where really cool companies can be built. Think of when the iPhone came out, right? Everything was a little blurry. Will laptops be a thing? What would happen to the internet? We ended up answering much of that. The cloud happened and all of that. But big companies like an Airbnb and Uber came about because of a lot of things that were blurry.
Okay.
Platform shifts create that sort of chaotic blurs. Good companies can use that as a ladder. That's really where we thought a company like ShopOS deserves to exist, which is a brand can be done by a GPU,
Okay.
maybe even better than it can be done by an agency. And if that is possible, a company should make that happen. We hope to be that.
Sounds amazing. I never thought that the amount of emotional connect with brands. Now if I go back and think why I would choose a certain cab or a certain outfit or a certain phone actually adds up in so many ways as to the people around us, what I'm scrolling on the phone, and various other aspects. So I mean it's really interesting if agents can actually replicate that and brands are built on the same. Okay, so if I had to classify what Shop OS is, would you call it a tool or a toolkit? Or would you say it's a squad of AI teammates? Can you elaborate a little bit on that? What what is the advantage of running a brand with, say, a photographer agent and a developer agent versus utilizing Shopify plugins instead of that?
You touched upon some really interesting themes there. What's a tool? What's a platform? What's a digital worker? Let's take one step back and look at intent. An intent of a customer or a user is to create something, a store, a brand, a product, whatever it is. Today, let's think of intent on vibe coding, right? What is the intent for you? You want to create some software to solve a job for you.
Right.
Similarly, the intent for a merchant, a creator, or a brand is to take a product, make it appealing, sell it to you. Let's map that intent, right? The number of tools that you're using today to make it appealing. What does appealing mean? You're cataloging the product, you're making creatives, you're running ads, you are having a creative team write its descriptions, you're sending emailers, ways to attack someone's attention.
Right.
And then you get their attention. So you've got to make them buy. So you have this really cool D2C page. You list it on marketplaces. You run ads on some of these marketplaces to make sure that I look at it first. All of this put together today takes an average of about 50 to 80 tools for even a small brand to get right. So let's assume for a second AI sits as a layer on top of all of these tools, potentially replacing a lot of them,
Right.
or an agent using a lot of them. When that happens, you start interfacing with a service, almost like a chief of staff. You ask your chief of staff to ensure that you go ahead and make the photo shoot happen. Go ahead and make the ad happen. Go ahead and look at whether your sales on Flipkart over the last 30 days for the top 3 products in your brand's portfolio is doing well, and what are the 3 steps you can take to make that better. Effectively, a brand owner or a brand manager now gets this chief of staff of sorts who is orchestrating a lot of this.
Right.
And we think at that very heart is a lot of puppeteering, right? Ways to use LLMs, ways to use image models, ways to use coding tools. All these 80 tools sort of converge into one AI layer. And we hope that ShopOS can be a very interesting part of that singular AI layer that makes it happen for any brand across different sizes.
So, Sai, it was very interesting to know about the role of chief of staff and the connections that you made. So, in a world where ShopOS is doing what it's planning to, I'm just jumping in and looking at this pen and also trying to recall the Wolf of Wall Street. I want to know, how would your chief of staff sell this pen?
Putting me in the hot spot there. Okay, let's break that down. That Wolf of Wall Street scene is very iconic, right? He
Right.
holds up this pen and says, sell me this pen. So let's break that down. Let's say you've got this very interesting pen, but you want your name added to it. So there is some degree of personalization. or you want your company's logo added to it. So the first step that you're going to ask chief of staff, either AI or human, is, hey, I would like to do something on this pen that makes it truly mine or my company's.
Right.
So who comes up with the design? Is it your full company's logo? Is it a small version of the logo? Is it a tagline of the org? Or is it a gift or a present which comes in a very interesting box? You sort of have to now go through this whole design process of what and how are you packaging, presenting, and producing this pen. So first step is for AI to solve that for you, which is this said chief of staff, or we call it a design agent, is going to pop in and give you 10 drafts of
Okay.
saying, here's how the packaging, the pen, a personal note from you, as well as the price point on it is all going to be like. You didn't have to do any of that work. It gave you 10 options. You simply pick the one that you like. Okay, I like option 6. A pen that is bright red in color, that has my company logo to it, and it looks a little funky from a packaging perspective, that I give completely free to every new joinee that's coming to the company.
Right.
Awesome. So now how do I give it to them? Can I set up a very interesting set of photographs of this pen to just show on social media that I care for my employees? You haven't even produced the pen, so let alone taking a good photograph of it. I want to probably place it around Pokemon, or I want to place it in the middle of a desert to make it look interesting. Or I'm building a moonshot company, so I want to show the pen on the surface of the moon.
Okay.
You can do some very interesting things where you use a photographer to set up a scene and a lifestyle photo shoot to make that happen. A pen for you, a shoe for me, a chair for someone else. But these products need great images to make great stories. And this imaging is what makes a good story believable, right? So
True.
you will now go and ask AI or your chief of staff, hey, make me 100 images in 100 different settings, starting from funny all the way to inspiring, with my company logo right at the bottom. AI does that for you. So effectively, you've gone from idea to draft, draft to photography, photography to ads. You can ask it to make ads, ads to videos, and now videos to a landing page. From the landing page, you will have a buy now button. There's then a ton of logic on who's delivering the pen. How does the ticket get generated for it? What if you run out of the pens? What if you need to place a bigger order with your supplier? What if you need to run a discount on these pens? How do you show these pens on marketplaces?
Okay.
Each one of these questions typically has an employee you should have hired, a tool you should have bought, or a chief of staff who would have really tried to figure this out for you. But now you can go from idea to product, product to store, store to brand. What if you want to sell 10 pens tomorrow because it's doing well? That entire journey is all done inside a chat box. That makes every one of us a seller. What happens in a world where we all get to sell anything that we want?
Yeah, I mean, I'm able to think of multiple brands where, which could probably be positioned in various scenarios. It's actually really amazing how you could connect a pen. First of all, sold on what I was trying to ask you to begin with. So, Sai, the whole concept that you laid out so easily is that everybody can be a seller. So, I understand that you're enabling that, but what are you selling?
Yeah, am I? In business school, you say, are the dogs eating the dog food? Which means, are we using the same things that we need to show? Okay. Funny fact, I am actually selling the product that I'm wearing right now. I'll break it down. These glasses that you see are completely made by a small strike team inside the org. These are AI glasses. And as you can see, you can literally look at the electronics that are there in them. We've always been fascinated about how AI is not a screen or a rectangle problem. If AI can break out of the rectangle, the laptop, the phone that we're seeing, you can put them anywhere. We've tried putting them anywhere. We call them speakers. But you ask your speaker to set a timer or play your Spotify playlist. That's all you do with it.
Right.
So that's sort of tapered. But the glasses, you carry with you every single day. And I can now use them as almost the best home for AI that can be with you. So we said there should be a world where open source glasses can be used and made by everybody. So we started with that
Wow.
project, and we've been building this for a little while now. It's almost there, and what you can do is invoke ChatGPT or Gemini or any multimodal LLM here and ask a question. So I could be looking at that potted plant and know more about it. I could know where I can purchase them. I could know how do I take care of it, because whenever I've bought plants, I've killed them. So the point being, we've made these glasses and we made them 10 times faster with a tiny team because we used AI alongside the process. Cool, now we made the glasses. How do you sell the glasses? I genuinely don't have the time or the brains to be a brand marketer. So I ask AI to do that for me. I actually ask AI to design the outer casing on the glasses. I then go on to thinking about the packaging for the same. Then do product photography,
Oh,
where we place these in Nike and Apple style photo shoots.
right.
Clearly, we don't have the equipment to do much of that.
Yeah.
We then take that photo shoot, make them into videos. We make them into vertical videos for short form videos across social media apps, put them out there, create landing pages for you to come in and place pre orders for the glasses, payment processors that can be agentic so that you can quickly click, get done, place an order, and all of that works seamlessly. And most of this was done by less than half a dozen people. This typically would have taken a whole company by itself. So now you have the chance to create a product, brand the product, try selling the product, and making all of that across a tiny, tiny team. That is why the excitement around what AI can make brands and the concept of vibe commerce or vibe selling happen, and the acceleration that we will see there is quite something.
That's really amazing to hear. So I see a lot of influencers advertising other AI glasses. So are you going to be the influencer advertising this one?
Luckily, we take care of the building, so let the nerds do the nerdy stuff, and you would have a bunch of people who are potentially, hopefully, going to wear these around. The good thing about glasses is they are very visible. Like when you see 50 people in Bangalore walking around with them, hopefully that has enough FOMO that the next 5,000 want them as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt the glasses look really amazing.
I'm so
Thank
glad you
you.
like it.
So we spoke about all the different steps and all the agents that are required
Hmm.
to make one specific task happen successfully. Conversion of a certain idea. So let's zoom into say one of them where what ShopOS is building. For example, the photographer agent, right?
Sure.
So the moment a product idea exists, what exactly happens after that?
Perfect.
If you could just elaborate.
That's a really cool one. So we actually sold one of our startups to a very large e-commerce company, Flipkart. And as we did that, the one thing that we noticed was great product images or great imagery in general converts to the point where Airbnb used to hire an actual photographer on their rolls and go to individual houses that are listed on Airbnb in the early days and do great photography. We buy through our eyes. Seeing is believing. That's it.
True.
So seeing is buying, rather, I would say. And so what does that mean? A studio can now be put into your phone and in your pocket. Oh, how do we do that? You have a few roles that sort of come in: a creative director, a photographer, a QA assistant. The whole pipeline of product photography is now treated as a bunch of agentic personas. So the creative director effectively is a multimodal LLM, understanding what your
Okay.
product is, from a TV remote all the way to like a D2C shoe, or even makeup and cosmetic products. How does that look like in an ad campaign? But what does an ad campaign mean? When an Ogilvy runs an ad campaign, it would probably look very different than someone looking to appeal to mass media India.
Right.
Or an advertisement during IPL finals looks very different than even a Super Bowl finals.
Right.
So you need to come up with ad campaign creative directional strategies and then make your photography appeal for that. You have a demographic, you have an emotion that you want to invoke. Who are you going after? Is it India, not India? In India, are you going after the metros, not metros? Is it a price point where you're inspiring? Is it a price point where you're doing practicality? What are the things that go behind a campaign? You feed all of that context to an AI and say, I wish to have a photography piece of 1,000 images that needs to cater or tend to these goals.
Okay.
AI does a good job of giving you those 1,000 images. But why the heck do you need 1,000 images? A photographer would have given you 5
Correct.
and charged you a certain flat fee for that.
Right.
You would need 1,000 images because you can now test that on an audience.
Right.
What does an Instagram do to you when you open the app? It's actually testing what you like.
Absolutely.
The Reels algorithm is an addiction machine. And Instagram has infinite content. You like cats? Here's more of cats. I like cricket? Here's more of cricket. Effectively, it is the best matching and sorting system for your attention. So, if content becomes infinite, you can match and sort that content to your customers better.
Got it.
We've never had infinite content in e-commerce. We've always dealt with 5 images
Right.
or a small gallery. Break that barrier. A AI photographer is not a replacement for a real life photographer.
Got
An
it.
AI photographer amplifies what selling even means on the internet because they take the supply side problem of content and make it infinite. And at
Okay.
1/10,000th the cost. What the hell does selling mean then? That is probably where the interesting questions begin. Too often today we are saying, will AI replace that human job?
Right. Right.
Not the way to think about it. Instead, AI is middle to middle, which is the human is going to always be on either sides of the road. But if AI can accelerate or completely remove the middle portion, how does that role even look like? That area for e-commerce is super exciting.
Sounds amazing. So, I have been hiring for roles in machine learning when it was called so in the roles, and for companies like Amazon when they were building their initial teams, right? At that time, um, the role definition was very different. The deep tech expertise in every single vertical was very, very important. But today, it's all converged to a completely different setup. What should an AI startup really look for in the talent that they want on board? You know, right from AI engineers to agent builders or machine learning scientists, machine learning engineers. I'm sure there is a lot of overlap already, but what should the approach be? It cannot be the same as it was 4 to 5 years ago.
For sure. AI 10 years ago and hiring for AI roles 10 years ago looks very different, right? Like someone would be wearing a t-shirt that says everything in life is a POMDP decision. You go to someone today and say, what does POMDP mean? They won't even know that is a machine learning terminology. They know that ChatGPT works and they can get stuff done through that, through Cloud Code, through Lovable. The whole stack of getting introduced to AI is fundamentally different.
Right.
You just do not think about neural nets, nodes, what does pre-training, post-training mean. There are two very unique styles of how these roles have gone on the spectrum. On one side, you've got applied AI, where the bar to entering the generative space is lower, better, easier, and more exciting than ever.
Right.
It is almost impossible for you to not be using an AI tool today, right? And that is a very, very good spot to be in. On the other side, the concentration of AI talent to research centric roles has become so incredibly crazy on supply demand that you are sort of now treating them like baseball and basketball stars, where people are being traded, poached, sniped, and crossovered at eye-watering numbers. We've heard Meta being the absolute deal champion for a lot of such roles, right? So the polar ends mean that you either fit on either sides of the pole. There's no fat middle here just
Right.
yet. On one side, you really have to become good at using AI in your role. There's no skirting that. So how are you going to improve AI literacy, right? For
Exactly.
yourself as you
Yeah.
start with. On the other side, you are, if you are in research, probably one of the most sought after humans in the technology space today. And you would know which side you need to bucket yourself into. Hiring effectively in this part of the bucket is really about indexing on the y-axis, which is everyone's sort of only partially there in terms of the way we're using our own tool stack. So you're indexing on the y-axis that you can learn, adapt, and start using these tools for your job really well. Hiring on this side is really indexing on the x-axis, which is have you spent enough time in a foundational model company or in that domain of research, or your depth is measured by your exposure to that specific technique or concept of or area of machine learning
Right.
purely on the x-axis.
Right.
So that's potentially one way to look at the hiring process right now.
So, what I feel is the literacy piece, right? That is where there is so much potential when companies themselves take it upon them. I see. I recently attended one of the conferences hosted by a fintech company, and everywhere they said we've got the the subscription for Claude, for Cursor. We are asking our developers to use it, but they're not really clear how it's going to help, or the adaptability. There's so much apprehension about how it would really help them, or will it question their existence in that system. But what I feel is, especially for startups that are building teams 0 to 1, like like ShopOS, for example, how important is it to have the bandwidth to upskill, or look at potential developers or AI engineers who can actually come on board, pick up, because time is also key here, right? You're not running a training institute, you have business, you have brands that you're associated with, and you have to deliver on those. So how important do you think is companies themselves, institutions, educational institution, academicians, those are again a separate bucket, right? But how can startups themselves take an initiative to specifically upskill the people that they bring on board?
That's a really cool one. Startups today are in three categories of AI. There's one. First category is posturing, right? Hey, AI is going to be super important for my space, but I'm going to do really nothing about it.
Right.
Then the second category of startups is, or companies in general, is pragmatism, which is AI is another feature. AI is a small magic button that appears inside the app or inside my teams and company itself. Pragmatism here has a bunch of metaphors that go with it, right? Like AI is a bicycle for the mind. AI is an accelerant. Enough conferences happen in order to do much of this. Then there's the third, which is every pain inside the company or a role starts becoming an AI pain, right? So posturing, pragmatism, pain. I would say start with pain, and just do everything there. For example, if you're a startup, you should not have PRDs. You should have prototypes and hollow builds that are all vibe coded. They don't need to make it out to your customer. They don't potentially need to be what your consumers see. But why does a PRD exist in a world where you can vibe code this? Right? If I can show you something, that's 10 times more valuable than write out the user stories just yet. That could be a very easy way for a product person to start learning how to vibe code, how Cursor fits into their entire stack. What does writing a PRD for an LLM look like as compared to writing it for a human? It starts to shoebox you into an AI first way of thinking.
Right.
This could look like React code for a designer. A designer need not stop at Figma. The designer can now ship functional good code from Figma to their developer in a beautiful AI-centric handoff process.
Okay.
So you're effectively solving for pain between you and an adjacent role. The product person solves it for the engineer.
Right.
The designer solves it for the product person. The marketer could solve it for the content person. You have multiple people inside the org you're talking to. How do you use AI as the shared language of understanding when you do that talking?
Right.
That
makes sense.
alone increases the density of every company's AI utilization. I've not even touched upon how you do it for your customers.
Right.
The moment you start here, you will start thinking of AI centric ways to solve whatever you do for your customer as you go about it. Perhaps one way to think about AI centric or AI native ways of thinking about.
So, Sai, your last company, Scapic, which was into AR, VR, was sold to Flipkart. And what lessons did you learn from that particular experience? What learnings are you baking into ShopOS now?
It's funny to have a company that is as 0 to 1 as a thoroughbred deep tech startup, Scapic on one side. Then you've got the poster child of Indian startups, which is Flipkart on the other
Right,
side, the
right,
largest org and outcome that the country has seen. How do you integrate these two together, right? How does a small, tiny team that operates very differently from super highly structured environments fit in? So the first part about learnings is having 2 ears and one mouth. Literally just staying quiet and trying to understand how machineries
right.
operate versus squads. The top three learnings we had from that were the way this country purchases is very different when you go every 300 kilometers.
Very true.
Right. The second is India and the way India has bought things online has fundamentally changed over the last 10 years. And number three, this will change even more in the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
And so when you take those three key pillars of learnings and you start thinking of how does the next big outcome in e-commerce in India start off, it increasingly points towards an AI-centric answer.
Right.
What does a one person or a 5-person billion-dollar brand look like?
Hmm.
If my goal is to make a team of 5 build a massive brand, you can't build a big brand with 5 people unless AI does a lot of that lifting. So we started thinking about if an iconic Indian brand in the next 5 years has to come by, AI has to be your most important employee.
Right.
And can we enable that really important employee for a really cool brand to emerge out of the country? And if we can do it once, the good thing about AI is it's a stochastic parrot. It can do it a bunch of more times after that. That I think is probably the most important learning that we want to translate to what we are building at ShopOS.
I think that's absolutely in line with what you're trying to replicate via ShopOS with all the other brands also who are trying to get on board.
Very much.
And would you like to tell us a little more about brands who are already engaging with ShopOS at the moment?
For sure. So when you start building for a whole category like e-commerce, it's $1 trillion, right,
Absolutely.
of value that flows through that system. Where do you start? Do you start selling toothpaste? Do you start selling shoes? Do you start enabling someone in a specific category? Right. The first thing that we said was we'll prove the fact that this technology can work.
Correct.
So we started working with what we call as design partners. These companies are usually in the fashion, fast fashion sort of space across the spectrum. You've got companies selling 3 products at $5,000, 2 companies that sell 5,000 products at like $30.
Yeah, yeah.
But the one thing that started to work is AI has effectively become one of their most important parts of the day, where a role, a person, a CXO in that company is starting to use AI or agents or what an LLM does as an integral part of production level code cataloging or commerce operations. Not a science experiment, not a marketing budget, not a posturing exercise, but real money, conversion, engagement, and dwell time. So now it's working with a bunch of brands we're working with. A big wait list of brands that look at that and say, hey, I want some of that too.
Hmm.
So how do we now enable every brand to uniquely do a bunch of things while still having a least common denominator piece of software to get us there?
Right.
That is perhaps where a team, lots of focus, and specifically doing the one thing that we do well, which is build delightful products, is going to really make the big difference on whether we build this to an iconic outcome or a laughable outcome. Hopefully the first.
Interesting. I'm sure it's going to be iconic. Looking at the track record, it definitely has to be. So, Sai, you've made us think a lot about how much is happening in the background before something comes in front of us, either to sell to us or to connect with, or just what is the intent behind purchasing something. There are a lot of jokes about, oh, I just spoke about this and the ad just popped up, and I just was discussing or sent a link to my sister about something I liked, and the next whole day is it's just going to push me to purchase something in that area, right?
So true.
So I think hyper personalization is a buzzword, and I myself have seen how much more I have shopped due to it, right? So how do you actually make a store feel like it is designed for me?
Hmm.
How is it that I can actually feel connected to a brand or a store very honestly without finding it creepy, that okay, why is this coming as an ad repeatedly?
You brought up a very interesting choice of word there, creepy. And we find some of the social apps we use creepy because they seem to weirdly get it right. That is great personalization, isn't it? It started with something like a TikTok, right? And the company was iconic in doing something called multi-armed bandit algorithms. What it does is it sort of has a bunch of videos fighting for your attention, like gladiators. And then the one that gets your attention stays. The rest get killed. Then that video fights with a bunch of other videos for your attention. The one that stays is going to progress. The rest get killed. It was a very interesting machine learning paper that they put out called multi-armed bandits. Since then, every social company has sort of mimicked this concept for short form video. And it does really well. If you open my phone, I have an embarrassing amount of time on these apps. And it's gotten to a point where we think of these systems as systems of addiction.
Absolutely.
Right? We look at the algorithm and we say, you should spend lesser time with this. You know something that is just as good as that algorithm? ChatGPT. People have started to use it as a coach, a therapist,
Absolutely.
a doctor, and it asks you leading questions by the time it finishes. It eggs you on to chat with it more, to ask it further. That algorithm is going to be just as vicious for your time as every other one. But when you look at brands, you don't say that that brand is creepy specific to me.
Right.
Because brands can't. So far, personalization in e-commerce is sort of like a half a lie, half a myth. Why? Because we segment. There's a difference between segmentation and personalization. Segmentation is taking all your key attributes, your gender, where are you from, what phone do you use, what's your previous purchases. I'm going to use all of this in order to segment you into a customer.
Got it.
Big companies have many segments, so it feels like they're very granular about it, but it's still segments, it's still buckets.
Right.
While social media apps target you, the individual user, far more nuanced. Hence, the creepiness index increases. But the social media app is able to do that because it has infinite supply of content. Brands and e-commerce companies have a finite supply of content and products.
True.
So the first thing to move the valley of creepiness, if I were to put it that way, is give brands the same set of tools that content creators and social media apps had in order to get to you. And when a brand has that infinite content, they can use it in a bunch of ways. They can appeal to you in very different emotional traits. They can get personal in ways that they couldn't before. The brand morphs around the user versus the user having to attach their association to a brand depending on which brand offered what.
Right. Okay.
That in turn makes personalization at the brand level, the store level, and the marketplace level change. Because a marketplace will then think of personalization slightly differently, which is which brand do I attach to you if I get the choice to.
Right.
The store will think of how do I present a store layout that works for you. Is it rich imagery? Is it videos? Is it social proof that your friends bought the product?
Right.
The store can dynamically change. The marketplace can dynamically change. The brand's visuals can dynamically change. If every supply side problem is removed, what does the brand stand for? That is going to be fun and interesting to watch. But as we figure that answer out, personalization truly becomes possible for e-commerce.
Sounds amazing. I think we are going to be buying a lot more stuff going forward. And from brands that we never thought we would, or, which we thought, I don't know if I would ever buy something from this brand. I think that's not going to be a question anymore.
100%. And you will probably not even do the buying. What ChatGPT is already doing a lot of the buying for you, which means that the agent or your agent representing your interests is potentially going to match make your interests to what brands make sense for the same. So now I have only talked about the selling side and what happens there. The buying side changes too. The customer who had to make the best decisions across 10 marketplaces, 5 discount codes, and 3 brands that make sense is now going to automate all of that. What happens in a world where the cursor moving around in a web browser is an agent and not a human?
Yeah.
The agent won't click an ad. The agent doesn't care about an ad. The agent doesn't associate to a brand in the same emotional ways that you do.
Correct.
What if every decision is made pragmatically or agentically? Where does brand association for a customer go? That's a whole other can of worms that has to be answered just as much as this side for brands ought to be answered as well.
Wow. Okay. I think it's safe to say that ShopOS has already defined a very nice set of AI problems that have to be solved and put into place, and it's absolutely going to change things and change the whole shopping ecosystem going forward.
We need a talented team to solve the problems, but there's a really iconic investor once who told, the market and the problem in the market defines you way more than you think your own solutions do.
Right.
Pick the right market and the right problems. Markets win. This was Paul Graham. And he says, if a lousy team meets a great market, the market still wins. If a great team meets a lousy market, the market still wins.
Right.
And if a great team meets a great market, that's when you build a big outcome. So
Makes
we
a lot
hope
of
to build a
sense.
great team, and hopefully we operate in a great market when we do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sai, for the deep insights into various aspects of ShopOS. And also, I think our listeners will actually be able to connect with a lot of these and be interested in solving a bunch of problems. In conclusion, the one thought that's on my mind is I hope my credit card is protected from all the AI that you're building around it. And I mean, I'm not going to fear shopping across all the AI agents that you're building.
My credit card is suffering from all the AI subscriptions that I pay for today.
I'm sure.
$20 really add up to like 10 more products that are in. So hopefully
Yeah, yeah,
both our
that,
credit
that
cards
that's
are aware.
actually true for my team too. While we're hiring, and we say that okay, everybody says recruiters are going to be replaced, and there are people who say no, that's not happening. And I'm constantly telling my team, okay, which tool is out there that we need to subscribe to. So I think the AI cost is adding to everybody,
Yeah.
and hopefully we will see returns soon.
Oh, for sure. But thanks for having me. You've been a patient audience.
Thank you, Sai. It's been super enlightening.
Thanks.